Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to another installment of Dissecting the Macabre. Today's movie we're going to be talking about is Saw. Before we begin, just want to say a huge thank you to my creepy patron peeps. I love you guys. Thank you so much. You can find the link for my Patreon page in the description box, as well as floating somewhere on the screen at the end of the video. Alright, so we're going to be talking about the very first Saw, 2004, directed by James Wan, about two strangers who wake up in a room with no recollection of how they got there. They're chained to the walls and they find out they are part of a sadistic game put on by a serial killer named Jigsaw. This was James Wan's feature film directorial debut, and if I'm not mistaken, it was also Leigh Whannell's feature film debut, as well as a screenwriter and an actor. I'm not sure about that one. And Saw originally started as a short film, mostly just about two men mysteriously, you know, find themselves locked in a room. The whole Jigsaw thing kind of came a little bit later, but they started it off as a short film and sold it to Twisted Pictures that way, and that's how they were able to get the budget they needed to make a feature film. So the first Saw is definitely a good example of a low budget indie feature kind of skyrocketing and and making a huge profit. It was made for roughly around $1.2 million in just 18 days. All right, so like I said, the idea of Jigsaw came a little bit later in the development of the story. The short film really didn't develop like the whole Jigsaw story or anything like that. But apparently the idea came to Leigh Whannell when he was at the doctor or something for migraines, and you know, like anything, when you get mysteriously ill or something, and you know, we WebMD it and decide that we're gonna die in like 6 days or something like that. That kind of idea, and just like waiting to hear what was wrong with him, kind of sparked the idea, what would you do if you were told you only had a year or two to live? And that kind of led into like, well, what if there was a serial killer and he was kind of placing people in that situation? Like, you're given a certain amount of time to live or to decide if you're gonna live or die. So that's kind of where the idea came from, and that's become the overall theme for the entire franchise, is, you know, being given that awful news, like, although it's much shorter time period, being given that awful news like, you're gonna die unless you do something about it. And then it becomes like, what are you willing to do to survive? What are you willing to do to keep on living? When I was reading up on Saw, the success of this movie financially made it the most profitable horror movie at the time since Scream. So Scream came out in 1996, Saw premiered in 2004, so it was the most profitable film in almost 10 years at the time of its release. Like I said, super low budget, shot super quickly in just a matter of days, and just, you know, skyrocketed. But it did have mixed reviews, mostly due to the violence, which, you know, looking back on it now, I think most people kind of laugh at that fact, because out of all the Saw movies now, it's probably the least violent. Like, it shows the least amount of gore and horrible situations. Like, they've definitely gotten worse and worse as the franchise has gone on in terms of violence and gore. Kind of kickstarted the resurgence of splatter films, which were popular a whole lot in the 70s. Saw kind of kickstarted the resurgence of that, although it kind of created this new name, and people started calling it torture porn. Or I've seen Gorno too, which is like gore and porno. I think torture porn is a little more catchy though. Again, the funny thing about that is of course, James Wan and Leigh Whannell did not intend for Saw to even be really a horror film. Like, they kind of set it in the horror genre in terms of elements and stuff, but they considered it more like a thriller, almost like a tense thriller or like a mystery or something like that. And it's you know, again, it's kind of funny to think about considering somebody hacks off their own foot, but but no, it wasn't intended to be a horror movie. You know, that's kind of kind of funny to think about now, considering that Saw is always lumped in with the torture porn films, and I think even amongst its cohorts of torture porn films, it's probably the least violent one as well. So there you have it. That is Saw. It is by far my absolute favorite of the series. That and 2 have always been my favorites. The rest of the series, I don't know. You can watch my review of the newest Saw installment, Jigsaw. Should pop up here as I'm pointing, hopefully. You can check that out if you want, and be sure to head on over to nightmaremaven.com, where I'm going to tackle an analysis question regarding Saw. You can check that out there if you want. It should be up now. Probably just post a link in the description box to make it easier for you. If you've seen Saw, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about it, and let me know how it fits in with your kind of like horror journey, because it is kind of an older film. It's over 10 years old, you know, it's old. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, subscribe and become a creepy peep today. I post videos Monday through Friday. I'm super articulate. You can also find me on my blog at nightmaremaven.com. I post on Tuesdays and Wednesdays there. You can find me at morbidlybeautiful.com, where I'm a contributing writer, also under Nightmare Maven, or you can just search my name and you can find me that way too. And you can find me on Patreon, which the link for that will definitely be in the description box and should be floating around my face somewhere, if not now, in the next couple of seconds. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay strange. Bye!